Hi everyone, welcome back. My name is Alicia. This is Planet Dirt, my backyard garden. We are obviously not in the backyard today. We're not in the greenhouse. We are inside at my seed starting station. That's my fancy way of saying it's a table that I have set up in my sunroom, and I'm going to grow some seedlings on it. And today is a very special day. It is the first official seed starting day of 2025. I'm super excited. And we're going to start some onions today. So let's take a look at what we got. Alrighty, so this is what we have today. First, I'm going to start with shallots. And I know this one's not technically an onion. I don't think. Same family. Grows really similar. And I'm going to grow it right next to it, so it's getting started at the same time. This one's a long day, so I'm going to alternate between long and short day. I am right in the middle of like the pinpoint zone where they kind of cross, and so some do better here than others. We're technically an intermediate zone, but like I said, we're at like the pinpoint in the middle where they kind of all mix, and so I've had success growing both. And it also just depends on what it actually is. So shallots, technically a long day onion, but we're going to try it again. I did get some really big ones last year when I grew it, so I'm going to try again. I have Texas Early, and this one is a short day. So like I said, we're kind of in the middle. I still got some big bolts out of this one last year too. It's just, I don't know. I have no idea. I'm in the middle, and so I have some success growing some and some not. So all depends on where you live. Onions are really finicky like that. This one is a long day. Utah Yellow Sweet. I haven't grown this one before, but I think this is a storage onion, so I'm going to grow this one, see what happens. Red Withersford. This one is a long day. I did not have great success with this one last year, but I think it's where I placed it. It was getting overcrowded. I put it in the bed with a bunch of other bunching onions that I kind of forgot about, and I was planning on thinning out around it before it got to the bulbing stage, and I just didn't remember. There's a lot going on in the middle of summer, and sometimes you forget things. So I'm going to try this one again because I love having red onions in the pantry. The leek. I really like leeks, and again, last year I threw them in a bed. They were in the same bed as the red ones. They just got overshadowed by other things that grew faster and taller than them. So I'm going to try them again. And again, I'm going to be more strategic with my placement. So hopefully they do better. And then white sweet Spanish. This one's a long day, and these ones did the absolute best for me last year. So I'm going to plant more of these than any other variety. And I'm talking all of the rest of them that I got last year were, normal size onions, and these ones were like this big, and it worked out really great because I had a bunch of those, and they're not really that great at storage. They have a thinner skin on the outside, so they're not great for long-term storage, but I gave them to my mom. She was able to put them in the freeze dryer, and I got a ton of onion powder out of it, so it worked out really well. This is where I'm kind of kicking myself. So I have a red bunching onion, and it's technically short day, but it doesn't matter. They're bunching onions that you harvest them for the greens, or they don't really bulb out, so it's fine. You can grow them. And I really liked this one, but I also had a Tokyo white bunching onion, I think it was called, last year, and I don't have any more seed, and I thought I did. So I only have the red bunching onions this year, and then I also have a packet of chives that I don't even know where this came from. It's probably a couple years old. And so this one I'm also going to sow pretty heavily because germination for onion seeds falls off pretty quickly. So I'm going to get the rest of these ones. I don't think there's not very many left in the package. So I'm going to get these ones in some pots as well. All right, let's get them into some soil. So here is my seed setup in all of its glory. I have chosen these bigger pots this year. I've usually done them in just like the little 6 cells, but since you can densely sow onions and then just parse them out later as you're transplanting them, I thought it would be easier to just make one tag and put all of the seeds in one. And I've seen a couple of people on other channels do it like this, and it works out pretty well. So it's just gonna save me some extra time up front. And all of these seed packs come with a bunch of seeds, but this one, it only has 75 in it. And the rest, like this one's got 250 in it. And the ones with a lot of seeds in the pack, it's now my second year using these. And I just ran out of this one because it only has 75. But the other ones, I still have enough for another year. But like I said, the onion seeds do lose a lot of germination after the first year. So after the first year, you just have to more densely sow, progressively more densely sow. All right, the bunching onions and the chives I sowed pretty densely. One, because they're bunching onions, they're not going to bulb out, and so I can even take these out like 3 or 4 in a bunch and plant them like that, which is usually what I do. And then with the chives, this one is just, it's an old pack, and I don't know what the germination is going to look like, so I just threw the rest of what was in the pack into that tray. So I thought about when I was deciding how I was going to start these seeds, if I was going to use these big pots or not, because I do only have this many of the big pots. I have a ton of these smaller pots, but these ones I ordered at the end of last year. They were on sale, and I only have, 9 of them? I'm in a 9 or 10 pack, and I only have this many. And I really wanted to use them for my tomatoes. But what I was thinking was, one, this isn't gonna hold all my tomatoes anyway, so I'm gonna have to use some solo cups again like I usually do on some of the tomatoes. And then 2, these onions are going to be transplanted into the greenhouse at about the same time that I'm going to need to be starting tomatoes. So there's not going to be any overlap that I'll have to worry about with that. I am just using a regular potting mix. I don't buy anything special for my seed starting. But that does mean that as I'm going through and topping these off, or when I was filling these up, if I see any big bark pieces, I just pull those out. All right, that looks good. right, y'all. And just like that, we are officially into seed starting for the 2025 season. Super excited. So I got all of my onions put in these little pots. I do have a heat mat underneath them just to help with germination, especially next to the window. Actually, we just got new windows put in at the end of last year, so it might not be as much of an issue as it is, but we had old windows when we first moved into this house, and they were just like 30 something years old, and so they didn't insulate very well. So there was a big draft coming off of them, which actually impeded my germination a couple of times with a few things. So I do have them on a heat mat. I will keep them on there until they all start to germinate, and then I do have a grow light up here as well. This grow light is not very big, but it will cover just these pots very well. It'll be more than sufficient for just these pots. And then I have a bunch of other grow lights that I still need to make a contraption to set up. The one that I used last year, it was very droopy. And so I'm not going to do that again. I'm actually going to find something that's stable to make sure that the lights stay where they're supposed to be and they're not falling on my plants or anything like that. So I'm super excited I got those started. The one other thing I did want to talk about today is that I am excited. I did some seed germination testing. So I keep seeing videos going around online about, oh, now's the time to test your seeds. And these are lemon squash seeds. So last year, I think I said this in a previous video, but my lemon squash did amazing, and it's naturally resistant to squash bugs and squash vine borers. And it was the only one of all of my squash that did amazing. Like, it looked like it didn't have any issues at all. It was laughing at the pests as they were trying to eat it. So I did save some seeds from that, and I'll just open this up. This is just a little tiny mason jar. But that came from, I think, 2 squashes, and I saved the seeds from those. But I haven't used any of them yet, and so I thought that was a good idea to test the germination rate on those at least. I do still have some lemon squash seeds from last year, so I'll be using those up as well, but I thought it would be a good thing to test these ones before I start relying on just them. All right. Thanks so much for coming along today. Like, subscribe, do all the things, and I'll see you next time.